When I listen to this song, I don't know about you, but this teaching to me keeps morphing. Anybody? It just keeps growing and expanding and shifting and changing for me, which is a good thing, because Ernest Holmes said, if you're still teaching the same 50 years from now, you missed the point. And I didn't miss the point at all of what Ernest Holmes was teaching. And it just continues to grow and grow and grow. So I have a quote for you today from Abraham Joshua Heschel. Any of you know who that is? Abraham Joshua Heschel. He is one of the leading Jewish theologians and philosophers of the 20th century. He was also a big activist in the American civil rights movement in the 60s. So he said this, our goal should be to live life in radical amazement. Let's just think about that for a second. Our goal should be to live life in radical amazement. And he goes on, he says, get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. How many of you can say that you get up in the morning and look at the world taking nothing for granted? I mean, just think about it. When you wake up in the morning, don't you just take it for granted that your shower's going to work? Maybe some of you don't, I don't know. Don't you just, when you get up in the morning, don't you just take it for granted that you're going to have food to eat? Don't you just wake up in the morning and take it for granted that the person sleeping next to you is going to be cheerful? I do. So, get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. He goes on to say, everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never take life casually. And then my favorite line, to be spiritual is to be amazed. You know, we all talk about what does it mean to be spiritual? Well, I love the idea that to be spiritual means to be amazed. And you know why that makes sense for me? Because to be spiritual for me means that I'm in my highest level of consciousness. I'm living in, as Emerson calls it, the fifth kingdom. And if I am living there, I am going to be amazed at everything because I'm going to understand it at such a deep level. I'm going to walk around, and when I see the trees, I'm going to know that I am the trees. And that's going to be amazing to me. And when I see, as I saw in the desert the other day, I spent the whole week in the desert. And the other day, I was walking around all this cactus and stuff because it's the desert. And all of a sudden, this hummingbird just kind of buzzed right next to my ear. And it scared me for a moment. I was like, what? But it was like just humming. And then it just kind of went down and sat on this cactus. But it didn't sit on the cactus looking that way. It sat on the cactus looking at me. And I stopped and I looked at it, and it's still fluttering. And I'm thinking to myself, hummingbirds don't land that often that I recall. And then it just did this again and sort of came towards me. I was in awe. I was in amazement. There was something that happened in that moment. I felt so one with the hummingbird. I felt one with the terrain that I was walking on. It was just a beautiful moment. That's what he's talking about here. So to be spiritual is to be amazed, mostly because when we remember who we are, we're just amazed that everyone else is too. And Jamie's song says that. Jamie and Gary's song says that. You know, love is about understanding we are all one thing. This notion that we are all separate. Yes, we are individualized expressions of God. I get that. But I think we spend way too much time focusing on the individualized expression and not enough of what we are the individualized expression of. Because if we really spend more time focusing on that, then the individualized expression expands, becomes bigger, becomes more beautiful. So I had an amazing week in the desert, and I loved that I got to go to the Living Desert Zoo. And every time I go there, I see these animals that I've never heard of before. Any of you have that happen? You go to a zoo and there's this animal and you're like, how did you survive these last? There was one there that was like 30,000 years old. Not the animal, the species. That would have been amazing. Can you imagine? Wow, what have you seen? Right? No. So, but the giraffes, The giraffes really do it for me. So talk about amazement, radical amazement. I always, as soon as I get there, I run right to the giraffes. I always time it so I'm there when they're being fed. And it's, usually me and 20 kids wanting to feed the giraffes. But I get in line with these kids, and I go up and I take my carrots so that I can feed the giraffe. And there's just something when that giraffe sticks out its 50-foot tongue, over the gate and just comes right at you, this gray, slimy tongue. And you're holding the carrot. And this time, I was like, I'm going to be present. I'm going to be very present with this. I'm not going to be rushed. They're not going to rush me. I'm going to take my time and feed this giraffe. Be one with the giraffe. Be one with the tongue of the giraffe. Just be one. So much so that as I fed him the carrot, I think it was a her, yeah. I fed her the carrot, I forgot to let go. And the tongue went all around until I suddenly noticed it, and I went, oh. And like the goo is just dropping off my hand. I was like, I am one with the giraffe. And now where is the hand cream? But it was so beautiful. In that moment, there was just and the woman turns to me and she says, when you give him the next carrot, let it go. I was like, I got it. I'm not trying to be sucked into the giraffe. But it was so cool that this giraffe turned itself into me. There was a moment there where I actually felt one with the giraffe. Have you ever had that experience? How many of you ever fed a giraffe? And the rest of you, put it on that list that Ellen's been writing. Ellen, did you feed a giraffe? Try put that in your list. So today's talk is called Radical Amazement. I want to start from the word radical. The word radical, believe it or not, stems from the word root. Now think about that. So radical. Radical forgiveness, let's talk about. Radical forgiveness means get to the root of forgiveness. What would be the root of forgiveness? Well, since you asked, radical forgiveness, for those of you who don't know, and I know Mark Anthony Lord taught his forgiveness workshop yesterday, radical forgiveness is actually understanding that at the very root of that which needs to be forgiven, nothing ever happened. That's what radical forgiveness is. To get so clear on who you are that the very notion that you need to forgive is obliterated by the truth that all there is love. Now, that doesn't mean that you are supposed to just forget what anyone ever does to you. That's not what it is. It's not about forgetting everything and pretending nothing happened. It's not about going into La La Land. Fabulous movie, by the way. But, right? It's about really understanding yourself so deeply, being so clear on who you are, that you don't get caught up in all that stuff. And you recognize that there is a place in you and a place in every other person, that when you are both in that place, you are in that one place. And therefore, it's pretty easy to forgive from that consciousness. A lot of people try to forgive from the consciousness of the thing that needs to be forgiven. Impossible. But when you can go to radical forgiveness, and he says here, so it's the root is what we talk about when we're talking about radical. Not just crazy, angry people, radicals. No, it's the root. What's at the root? So here's another definition of radical. Favoring extreme changes in existing views, habits, conditions, or institutions. Extreme changes. I loved what Dr. Ellen said. Do you want to spend 75 years of the same year? But are you willing to really contemplate extreme changes? So, I don't even know if my husband's here. Kevin, are you here? Good, I can tell this. So, no, he would love it I told this. So we were in the desert for the week, and 2 days ago, and this is about, can you really contemplate extreme changes in your life? How many of you feel you can contemplate extreme changes in your life? Okay, good. So not a lot of you, right? Because we're not used to extreme changes. We're used to comfort. I want to be comfortable, and I'll change something up. I may, I'm not going to do a complete do-over, but I'll change up the pants. Something like that. So we're in the desert, and we go to see these houses. Actually, they were condos. And we walk into this condo, And it was actually Reverend Dr. Joe Hooper's condo. And it was this gorgeous condo, turnkey. In other words, it doesn't have a lawn, it doesn't have a pool boy, it doesn't have a gardener, it's just a turnkey. This gorgeous house with a pool that the condo, everybody runs. So Kevin turns to me and he says, would you ever contemplate this? I said, I would. Oh my God, I was just thinking that. I could contemplate this kind of a house, this kind of 2 stories, more space than my house, but a condo. And I'm like, yeah, I could. And between the time we saw the condo and the time we went to bed, I'd already sold my home in Studio City, moved to Palm Desert, gotten a little apartment, not Palm Springs, a little apartment here in the city so I could do my work as the minister, but have this new home and back again. All within like 12 hours. Kevin said that I literally gave him whiplash. He was like, how can you contemplate all of this? Like in 1 second you can say, let's sell the house, let's change it all up, let's be done, let's do everything new. And then like an hour later you're like, that doesn't work. But you know what? I love that about me. He married me. But I love that, the idea that I can contemplate extreme change. That I am not feeling like I have to be attached to anything. Do you know how freeing it is to be detached? Just think about it. How free it is to just let go of all the things you think you're supposed to be, all the things you think you're supposed to do, all of the responsibilities you think you have, when if you really look at them, you realize you only have them because you chose them. Because that's really the point, isn't it? You have chosen everything in your life. So, what do you want to change? Here we are, 2nd week of a new year. What do you want to change? What's going on in your life that you would like to, what would you like to say no to? What would you like to finally say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with that. I am done with that. I know many people are talking about their weight. I'm done being overweight. I am done carrying around weight that just doesn't represent who I know myself to be. What do you want to change? And are you willing to say, in radical amazement, I can change anything I want to change? So what do you want to change? Do you need to change your job? Do you need to change your job? It's interesting, we had a lot of conversations this week with a lot of different people about this idea of job. I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. And I also love a lot of other things that I do. I don't need to change any of them. I love what I do. That's a great thing to be able to say. Because from my viewpoint, not a lot of people are saying that to me. They're mostly saying, I know what I would like to do. Why aren't you doing that then? What is holding anyone back from not doing what they say they want to be doing? The answer is this: they're not clear about this. They don't know who they are, because if you know who you are, you know you have the opportunity to change it up like that. I just realized I can snap suddenly. Right? So what? Thank you, West Side Story. Yes, it was a long way since that time I couldn't snap. I can snap great now. So, what do you want to change? And then I have a question for myself, which was this: how are we going to change the Global Truth Center? Did someone just say, uh-oh? As if we haven't changed enough. But no, how are we going to do this radical amazement here? So I've been reading a book by Reverend Dr. Jim Lockhart. It's a brand new book. It just came out. I think it just landed on Amazon right after the first of the year. And it's called The Beloved Community. And it's about, in the microcosm, it would be about us. We are a beloved community. Do you know that? We are a beloved community, every one of us beloved to the other. And yet, in the macrocosm, the entire universe is a beloved community. So, how do I change it up so that we experience more of this beloved community? How do I change my life so that I can inspire a more beloved community from all of us? And I really started thinking about that this week while I was in the desert. What does it mean? You know, many of you don't even know many of you. A lot of you don't know who other people come and go around here. It's like, what's that line from The Wizard of Oz? People come and go so quickly around here. But people do. They come and they go. They come back. They go. They travel. They come back. And I want this center to be a center for people that when someone goes and comes back, you're like, oh my God, where have you been? Not, oh, did you used to go here? But I want that in life too. Not just in this beloved community, but in the beloved community at large. And that's what Jim Lockhart's book is all about. It's about, do you walk the world as though you are part of a beloved community, or do you walk the world in fear or in feeling separate from? Because let me tell you, when you walk the world as part of a beloved community, you are way more powerful. You have a lot more of that divine power that is yours to live. And when everywhere you go, you are at home, things change, things transform right before you. So that's something I would like us to really, really think about. So here's a quote. He says, to be in the beloved community means to see through the eyes of awe. To see through the eyes of awe. So what are you going to change up in your life? What are you going to change in order for you to see more of the awness that this life is? What are you going to do to live a life of radical amazement instead of a life of same old, same old? Or you know my response whenever I ask anybody, hello, is that my phone? It's my phone. Figures. Gareth, always turn the phone off before we start. So people say to me all the time, I'm like, how you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm hanging in there. You know what I say, right? Let go. Drop. So how are you going to walk the earth? How are you going to live your life from that place of radical amazement? And I want to say hi to everybody online now, since we're live streaming through Facebook, and everybody out there online, the other online. How are you going to do it? Well, ultimately, it comes through these directives. Really getting it, that it's about love only. I don't think there's a day goes by where we don't see some tragedy in the news these days. You know, the shootings in Florida, the shooting in Florida. And I have to be honest with you, every time it comes up, my first instinct is to treat, is to pray, is to know the truth. And I also think to myself, where have we failed the shooter? I don't just go to, oh, the poor victims. I don't. Because I don't believe in victims and I don't believe in perpetrators. I believe in energy. So where have we failed? Well, you know where? We don't identify ourselves as a beloved community. We identify ourselves as us and them. Even us, we're the New Thought people. No, we're not. We are part of a spiritual community that encompasses everyone and everything and every religion. Yeah. And when we get that, when we really get that, life is going to change. And I want it to change right here. Right here, right now. Do you? Yes. Great. So that's what we will do. So to be in the beloved community means to see through the eyes of awe. Barbara Shane sent me a quote that I loved by, I'll try to say this, Václav Havel. Is that it? Yep. Václav Havel. Havel. Not Huddle, like the Fiddler on a Roof, but Havel. Okay. And here's what it says. I love this. It is not enough to stare up the steps. We must step up the stairs. I'll wait. It's not enough to think that we have this journey. We have to climb these steps to get to our goals, to get to our dreams, to get to those things that we know we want. That sometimes seems daunting. But, and I love this ending, we have to step up the stairs. That means, bless you, that means we have to step up in consciousness the very stairs we're standing on. We have to be happy where we are. We have to be willing to be happy where we are. By the end of the day yesterday, with the whole thing about the condo, I turned to Kevin as we climbed into bed and I said, you know what just happened? I saw a geographic as a way to change things up. Do you know what I'm saying? we can change everything up out there. But in the end, nothing will change. I could move from my house into a condo, get a little apartment here. I could change all of that up. And when all of that excitement of all that change was done, I'd be standing there going, nothing's changed. I'm still standing now in a condo. I don't like condos. What on earth was I thinking? Oh my God, I sold my house! All because I thought a geographic was a great way to change. That's not how it works. And you know who brought real sanity to it? Will and Nora. They came back from wherever they were, and I said, guys, what do you think if I bought this house? And they went, no. He said, Dad, this is so not us. I was like, really? You don't think so? She goes, no. Oh my God, no. Are you serious about this? I went, no. Yeah. So in the end, it really is all about taking your mind and becoming acquainted with it. Really becoming acquainted with your mind. You know, our theme for the year is stepping it up. And I step up every area of my life, which means for the four corners of the table, that means I step up the finances of my life. Driving back from the desert today, Kevin was going over our first financial quarter of 2017. And the funny part was, I'm just listening. I'm driving. And he's going through all of the finances that are coming in the first 3 months. And it is pretty amazing. It's the highest gross we've ever had in a first quarter, of any quarter, really. And and I'm driving, and he's going, and then there's this coming, and this, and I was like, wow, okay. So we are stepping it up, is what you're telling me. We are stepping it up. We have decided to step it up, and the universe has said, oh, well, if you're going to step it up, let me give you this. If you're going to really be equal to more, then I'm going to have to give you more. That's the way it works. If you're going to be equal to more, the universe must give you more. But if you keep saying I'm equal to more, but then again, there's this happening and that happening, and all your yeah buts that just get in the way of what the universe wants to give you, then you're not going to get it. You're going to be doing what Ellen was talking about. I was going to say what Ellen's doing. What Ellen was talking about. Another year of those 75 years, check off, same old, same old. You got to step it up in every area of your life. So there's the finances. And if you're talking about health, you've got to step it up in terms of consciousness. Now, I will tell you, tomorrow night at the Global 2 Center on Pike, in the Pike building on Ventura Boulevard, my heart specialist, who has this incredible holistic healing program, modality, program, paradigm. I was actually thinking of a different word, but anyway, she's giving a seminar in Heart Healthy, how to live from a much different consciousness of health, and how to literally detox the body and how to get it back to its homeostatic place, and then finding out from there what does and doesn't work for you. Do you know that most people, because they're so used to eating so much stuff, they never even know what all that's, and most of it coming together, they don't even know what any individual one does to their body. I'll tell you this, I stopped drinking for a while, because, I'm such a lush. I have a glass of wine every now and then. But I stopped drinking for a while, and I took a glass of wine, and it was like I was pouring acid into my mouth. My body went, whoa! And I said, oh, I see, so this does not work for me. Because my body was pure enough to tell me. So tomorrow night, 6:30 at the Global 2 Center. It's a free seminar. You have to call and reserve the seat because I think we're already at 40 and I'm only going to take 50. But come. But do something to step it up in the health department. Don't just say it's okay to feel the way you feel. If you don't jump out of bed in the morning with vibrancy, figure it out. Don't just say, okay, this is me at 75. This is me at 62. This is me at whatever. That's not okay. It's not okay. Not if you're willing to step it up. In your relationship, if you're in a relationship and it is not serving you, either get out of it or talk to the person and figure out how to make it more exciting. Really. I said to Kevin the other day, I said, I want way more romance this year. He went, oh, okay, are you dating? And then I said, am I allowed? And I said, he said that, and I laughed. We both laughed, and I said, but I do. And it's not that we aren't romantic, because I think we have one of the greatest romances of all time and eternity. But I will tell you this, we get busy sometimes, and we forget to be romantic. And suddenly we're both hopping out of bed and running into our lives. You know, it doesn't take much to start the morning off in a different way. It doesn't take much to do a little call in the middle of the day. It doesn't take much to chart time for you and your beloved to find time to be beloveds. There's the relationship part. And that goes just for your friends too, and your families. Children. Take more time to spend with your children. Really spend with your children. We were at dinner last night in Palm Springs, and actually it was a very romantic dinner in front of a fireplace, and this family came in with two beautiful little children. One child, I bet, was like 2 years old, and another child was like 4. And the mother and father sat down. They immediately went to their phones, and both children had devices. The 2-year-old was literally on a device the whole dinner, like totally. And I turned to Kevin, and I went, look at that. And he went, I know, they didn't have those when we were parents. I said, but look at that kid. He is so completely taken by this device. And I don't know those of you who saw it on my Facebook page, but I put an article up there, a video up there about what devices are doing, what Facebook and those things are doing to this culture. And part of it is, it's putting a little bit of a hernia in our beloved community. Because we're no longer the beloved community, we're the beloved social media. Not that that can't be used for this, by the way. It's just how do you use it, and when do you turn it off? The video that I put on my Facebook page, the guy talked about how they don't take their phones anymore when they go out to dinner, he and his wife. They just don't take them. Is anybody having apoplexy about the thought of that? Just leave your phone at home. You know, and I've said to Kevin, because Kevin said, where's your phone? I'm like, I've purposefully left it on my desk. If something needs me, they will find me in the hour when I get home to get. So if any of you are like, how come he doesn't pick up? It's probably one of those moments where I am no longer available. We're no longer saying to the world, I'm not available for that because I'm here with Helen. Ellen, who are you? With Ellen. Right? So there's 3. There is finances, there is health, there's relationship, and now the big one. Creative expression. If we're going to step it up in creative expression, guess what you have to do? You're going to have to know what you want to express. You're going to have to know, what do I really want to create in my life, out of my life? And here's the deal. Y'all know what it is. You just might have blocked it, pushed it aside, or are so afraid you can't have it or do it that you're not listening to it. So, all 4 areas. When are you going to decide to not only step it up with an idea of stepping it up, but when are you going to do what's necessary to make sure all 4 of these corners are being stepped up by you? So next week, I'll tell you. So Saturday night, I fly to St. John for a week. A beautiful romantic week with my husband on an island. And I'm planning on not doing a lot. Laying on beaches, having dinners, being with loved friends, and just really having this remarkable resurgence and stepping it up in that direction. Because when I step it up that way and take care of myself, everything else rises. Everything else rises. Health rises, finance rises, creative expression rises, all of it. Relationship rises. And so what I decided to do next week, and this is a little plug for him, I asked Rick Tamlin to replace me next week and speak here. Because Rick Tamlin was the founder of this church. And he went through all the classes. He became a practitioner with some of you in the room. And then just as we were going on to ministerial, he was so confused. He said, I want to go on with everybody and become a minister. But the truth is, he's out in the world. He travels probably over half of the year, all over the world, teaching workshops. And his book, The Bigger Game, is literally taking off. The Hayes House published it. He is just right at the precipice of being in his most amazing game. So next Sunday, he gets to come here, and he gets to take this, what I'm talking about today, and step it up with you. So I invite you to be here next week to listen to Rick. Because one of the things he says is that your life is bigger than you think. Your life is bigger than you think. How many of you would like a bigger life? What did you say? Okay. Are you living it? I know you have it. Okay. As big as you think it is, it's really little. Because who you are is so much bigger than any idea you can even have of who you are. And if we get in line with that, when I get in line with that, I think I do great things. I think I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I don't stop. I just keep going. I have another idea. Margaret always says to me, Margaret Owen, she goes, what are you on? What did you say to me? You're like, what do you take? Or what do you, I forget how you put it, but it's about that. It's not. I look at you and I think, what's wrong with me? I didn't want to say that, but yeah. And here's the thing. I'm not on anything, but I do know more about this than I ever did before. I know who I am. And you know what? I know when I'm not knowing who I am because I feel it. Don't you feel it? I know when I am operating from a different truth. I know when we call that off principle. I know when suddenly I'm thinking I'm something else. Certainly I know it financially. Certainly I know it health-wise. I know when my body is saying to me, aren't you healthier than this? Don't you feel better than this? Don't you know that you're better than this? So you have a bigger life to play. So if you're going to understand that your life is bigger than you think, you have to think from that bigger you. Everything you think creates something in your life. Basic science of mind. Every thought you have, which is backed by some belief you hold, is creating some experience that is yours to live. That's the way it works. Chapter 2. So if you are only going to be willing to think from a level of thinking that keeps you here, nothing's going to change. So for me to say you're bigger than you think, you have to think from that bigger self. You have to be willing to say, I know who I am, and I'm going to think from that mind. Because you are that mind. And that means getting all the other stuff out of the way. It means being willing to walk away from all of it. It means for you to have radical amazement about you. So that when you look in the mirror, you don't see the flaws. Unless it's just to see something you want to change because you know you can. When you look at you, you must see an amazing, powerful, gorgeous, smart, creative, fulfilled, rich person. That's who you must see. And you can't wait until it shows up out there to see it. Because if you're waiting for it to show up out there to see it, it's never going to show up out there because it doesn't show up out there until you see it. And it's so easy to see it. My dear beloved community, it is so easy to see it when you just get in touch with the truth of who you are. That's what this whole year needs to be about. Stepping it up and then coming clean in 17. It's interesting. All week in the desert, I didn't shave. I think I grew 3 whiskers. But the whole week, I just was like, you know what? I'm going to just let everything grow and just let my hair do what it does. My son then informed me he hasn't washed his hair since Thanksgiving. And I said, really? He says, no, I put apple wine vinegar in it, and that's how it washes it. And so he and I had this long talk about how coming clean isn't about washing away. Coming clean is about using the mind to let go of all the dirt. So, are you ready to not only step it up, but to literally wash away the dirt? Wash away the stuff that doesn't work for you. Are you willing to take this idea of radical amazement and use it on yourself more than anything else? Use it on you. Because I have to tell you, when that giraffe started to eat my hand. I was really amazed at my hand. I was. When I pulled it out, my focus was really the hand. I was like, so even as I separate myself from this gorgeous giraffe, I am still one with this giraffe. I was in amazement at who I am as a spiritual being. That's what being spiritual is. Being spiritual is being in awe of all of it. You can't be in awe if you're spending so much time saying, aw. I just made that up. You can't be in awe if you're spending too much time criticizing, being in judgment, seeing what's wrong in the world, seeing what's wrong in your own world. And I'm not saying it's not wrong. There are things in your world that's wrong for you, yes? Great. You know what it is. It's no big deal. Now fix it. Do it. As I say, step it up, clean it up, and then you get to live it up. Step it up, clean it up, and live it up. I would like 2017 to create such a beloved community around here that every single person that walks through these doors feels that they are at home. Zachary Goodson created a new card that we're going to start using, and it says, welcome home. And that's what you'll be given as soon as we make them. Welcome home. So that whenever you walk through these doors, you feel that you are at home. I do feel that way when I come in here. You know, I see Joe Jordan, I see Bob Morrissey, you know, I see all of you, and I feel at home. Even if I don't know you, if it's your first time, by the time you walk out of here, I will know you. And here's the real truth. I know the true you. I know that there is that in you that has never been touched by pain, that has never been disappointed with failure, that has never had anything happen in your life other than this emergent evolution of love that continues to pour out, as the song said. It's all about the love. That's who I know each and every one of us to be. And if we can walk around with that kind of radical amazement and only see that, no matter where we look, we will be at the start of a revolution. And that's what this is all about. Starting a revolution for love that makes this world not only a better place, which is how we're going to close out today, to make this world a better place, but to make myself a better expression of me. So that is my desire. That is who I know each one of us is, and that is what we are here to do in 17. Yes? Yes. Namaste.